log in.
And once if
I've been having that issue too.
sign-ins for today?
We are clean.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, are you sure?
All right,
We are live.
let's call the meeting to order at 6:30 PM. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Proof of giving public notice, Mr. Clerk.
Notice was given.
Thank you. As usual, we can skip number 4. Everyone is here. Public comments, there are none, so we can continue. We can go right into committee reports. If you need a second for catching up, don't
No,
worry.
we're all right. I didn't have to write too much down. All right, to discuss, we were at PPC 12/11 for 9:15 a.m. meeting. There we talked about the personnel report. There's a couple janitorials and a assistant or substitute on there, so you'll see that in the consent agenda for today. So then there was a talk about, excuse me, AI and digital footprint. At this point, not a lot of progress in AI, still just kind of getting the grounds where they're at. Chris Dillon did take a seminar or an online training on some stuff, just gathering more information from where we're at. So just still going through the, where are we touching those phases. But on the digital footprint piece, we did talk that in January, we're gonna have a presentation come in to talk about students in digital footprint, and we'll have a presentee for that. So excited to see that come in front of the board.
Is that for the
next
whole
month.
board or is that just PPC?
Whole board.
Whole board.
Yep, awesome.
And that is for 3rd through 8th grade, our programming, so we'll have everybody here for that.
Super.
Yeah, so very excited to have them come forward. And then on the other side of it, you'll see there's a Neola update for just language and policies. Inside those, there's a couple that I just wanted to mention on inside there. If we wanted to pull them and talk about it, we can, but they're in the consent agenda down below. There was one that is a new addition, and I just wanted to state that Neola came in, was it Tuesday last week? Or
Monday.
Monday last week, to actually go over these with our administration and kind of with a fine tooth comb, check out what was there, what we did have or didn't have. One of the things that we had is policy 9151, which is use of cameras and other recording devices. And while we don't have anything in our changing rooms that are there, sometimes students would use a classroom or a visitor would use a classroom. So we implemented, you'll see an addition in there to make sure that there is coverage of cameras. So they're not in use when those are there. So just giving ourselves a policy to cover ourselves on what we would do in those scenarios. Is there anything on that or is that?
No, absolutely,
Okay.
then we met about that, I met with Chris and Brian, both our IT people, to have a conversation about, in the event that we had let's say we had a basketball tournament, and we had 6 different teams here. We don't use our locker rooms, so we might use a classroom or somewhere. You can't have media, cameras, anything in those locations, so that includes our own cameras. So that's why we had those conversations, just to help kind of clarify that situation out. So we talked about, do we think that ever happens, and if it does, what is the notification process, and how are we going to ensure that they're blocked? So just so you know that was also taken from there.
So you'll see that addition now inside
Yes.
that 9151 policy. The other one was removal of 5464, which is early graduation, something we don't do because it's not relevant to K through 8. And then 4432, I just wanted to note that there was an addition. Usually it's in yellow, but this time it was in red. So if you see chiropractic, it's an addition, not that it was a subtraction. Usually subtraction will have red full line through it. Other than that, we finalized on policy 0167.7 and finally got to the bottom of what was really going on. This is a matching scenario. So when we got policies sent back to Neola, they sent them back to us, and they were just making sure that we had the spider webs going to the right policies. They referenced the policy we didn't have, which was the cell phone allowance program. We don't have that. So it now matches properly to what our policies are. So there's no need to bring it back to the board. It was just matching what we do have currently that was approved by the board.
And a follow-up on that, because I didn't realize, or, we needed to follow that spider web, that's a great way to put it. So talked with Neola, we will be meeting with Neola on the 14th of January when we come back for the 35.2s. And part of their work is I've asked them to please spider web all of them out to make sure that they all match going forward. So we don't have to kind of go through this digging process that we did this time.
And then Summer, any questions?
I have one, I just wanna ask it now, just so we don't, so we don't have to mess around at consent agenda time. So policy 5411 talks about promotion, third grade promotion. And it talks about something where a kid does like a reading assessment, that the board shall be provided the student's assessment and will put in place a plan. I just didn't follow why is we don't do anything regarding special education students or reading literacy, and I presented that, I wouldn't know what to do with it anyway. So it's like, I don't quite follow what that is.
So that's all part of Act 20. Do you mind if I respond to that, Chris? Okay. It's all part of Act 20, which was put in place by DPI, and as the decision makers when it comes to curriculum and assessment for the district, that's why it says the board. So we do absolutely follow this assessment. We do make determinations for the board. Now and oftentimes last year, you may recall, Sarah and Lisa came and reported out on students that didn't make it to a certain percentage, kindergarten through third grade, and they were put on a plan. That's what this is referring back to. So it's all supported by you, just the board is the overseer of everything. So if you would prefer I be the named person?
No, I don't care, it just seemed like weird because I'm sure stuff happens every day where kids are assessed. And
100%.
It doesn't come to the board, so I didn't know why this does.
Because it's Act 20 and it's mandated by the
It's a
state of
legislative
Wisconsin.
mandate.
Okay, fair enough.
Anything else? You are good, thank you.
And that's it. All right, then finance.
So Finance Committee, we had again a pretty relatively light agenda. We went through the spending, everything was in line there. It was a pretty light month in terms of cash receipts out. Patrick took us through the financials. Again, not much money came in, there's just timing, not much went out, so it was pretty simple. And then we spent a little bit of time talking about, there was kind of an all superintendent's meeting regarding the transportation situation. There's been some follow-up meetings with the busing company and all that, and so they kind of caught us up on that piece. They were awaiting some additional information, which they got. I have not looked at it yet, but I think Tina's gonna talk more about it in her superintendent's report.
Great. All right, then we are at consent agenda. And again, unless anyone has a request to pull anything out, I would be looking for a motion to approve consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
I will second. Any questions? Any comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Consent agenda passes. Great. Only thing I will ask, I don't know, Matt, if you have it up, if not, I do, Schwab, is the donations. I like to have those read off to thank everybody.
So we had a handful of donations today, this month, we had two totaling $6,000 from the HLEF, so thank you for that. We had $500 from the, I'm gonna mispronounce it, Barina family. That's for the Care Crusade, so thank you for that. And then we got some Special Olympics Wisconsin donation, $125 earmarked for some transportation costs.
Great,
And I will add to that, multiple other donations for the Care Crusade came in on both the Apple Pass and the e-funds. And then also additional people just kind of brought in gift cards, and so all wanted to remain anonymous, but just want to say a blanket thank you. What a huge success, and I will be talking about that here in just a minute.
All right. Now it's on to your part.
Excellent, thank you. I will start with the survey. A survey went out on Friday. Many people have already completed that survey. We do encourage you to complete that survey, fill that out, and give us your feedback. All feedback is welcome. So we'll be taking a look at that coming January and making some adjustments to the way we do things. So thank you for that. And then transportation. I do want to address the transportation piece. As you know, we've been working on this for quite some time. I will tell you that the transportation piece is directly linked to our calendar for next year. So as we start to, wonder where's the calendar? Why don't we have the calendar? We usually have it by now. It is because it is directly linked to what are we going to do with transportation? Does it seem like a lot? It does. It seems delayed. It seems like it's been a while. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of meetings. As Matt Schwab alluded to, we did have a superintendent's meeting where a lot was discussed. It's going to take a great deal of collaboration and flexibility and bend in all of the districts in order for this to work. We'll see tomorrow. We have another meeting. We did go out to bid. We did receive some information back. We just need to have some more conversations. I am very hopeful that you will be hearing in January that we have a new plan. Until then, there's really not a lot for me to report out on at this point, unfortunately. So you can plan that most everything in the calendar will stay the same as it was last year for us. Start and stop times could change. And that's about where we're at, okay? All right, next I want to talk a little bit about some celebrations, because that's what we're here for. We want to celebrate what the kids are doing. First and foremost, the Care Crusade. What an event, what a great moment. It was a moment of filling your cup, for sure, and I had some members of the board there. We had the student council students were just great. Loading all of our principals were there, teachers were there, office staff were there. It was just a really great day of giving and really truly understanding what that meant to give. And the thing that we talked about most is really packing those bags with love and care for one another, and had a great successful delivery and contributions from many. So thank you again, and you'll see more from the student council come February, and then for sure in the summer when we do Rock the Block. So we'll talk about that in the future. So thank you again for that. Also, we just happened to be here that day when the robotics team was rehearsing for their big competition. They did regionals. It was 4th through 8th graders, boys and girls in that group, working really, really hard. And we got to see the rehearsal and what they have to go through. And I tell you what, when we talk about knowing every child by name, strength, and need, that's their strength. They were glowing. They were just so into everything they were saying. And half the words they were saying, I was like, I don't know what that is. What is that? Right? I mean, I have no idea. But to think that 4th through 8th graders are that advanced in building this robot and this machine, and they were talking about it, and they talked to a scientist, and they were doing coding, and all that it was incredible to hear them and to see them. And the great news is they took 5th place out of 22 teams and advanced to sectionals. Yay, robotics! It's the first time we've gone beyond regionals, and they are super excited. And they compete next weekend, and they also won the Engineering Excellence Award. So really, really neat. We're looking forward to them, and no matter what happens this weekend, you are all champions in our book for taking this. This is the 3rd year of robotics that we have, and they're really trying to build that. And I hope that the district can do that and help them in the future as we work to build continuity kindergarten through 8th grade in our robotics and STEM and engineering and coding and all of those pieces together. In fact, got to work with some of the coaches and talked about a 3D printer. Well, we have 3D printers. Is there any reason why we're not working together to make these things happen? And so definitely new things and exciting things to come for the robotics team, and I'm very excited about that. Collaboration is being tied up now. This is our second kind of ending of collaboration, and I'm super excited about how much we've seen in the realm of collaboration. But one spotlight that I really would like to shine is something going on at South Elementary School. They're doing work with 3rd through 5th grade teams. So students that are teamed together, 3rd graders, 4th graders, and 5th graders, and they're trying to do more and more of that to build a culture and climate over at that building. And one of the things that they just shared out, and some of you who have 3rd through 5th graders probably already know this, but you should see them loading in the morning. They've got boxes. All the students are building sleds with their 3rd through 5th grade teams, and they're each going and they're building their sleds, and they're using saran wrap and aluminum foil and cardboard, and they're gonna see, you know, if it works, and then they're having s'mores and hot chocolate. It's just this kind of culminating concept and idea, and they're gonna do it over 2 days this week. So really proud of that work. I think that's really excellent. And last but not least, we've just had a flurry of music programs, and so to get us into the mood and into the holiday spirit, congratulations to our music programs and the great work that they're doing to bring that language into our children as well. So great things happening in Hartland. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Very good stuff. Director of Business Services report.
Yes, so we met as a finance committee, and as was already alluded to, November was a fairly light month as far as financial activity goes. October was pretty robust as far as still some of that early in the year purchasing was going on. November calmed down quite a bit. As far as cash goes, we are in a very solid cash position, about 4.9 million in total. If you look at the cash balances, operating checking was about 179,000. The operating savings account sitting around 2.97 million. Capital improvements continues to grow with its interest bearing about 1.75. And if you did notice, the North Student Activity Account normally sits with a fairly low balance. It is sitting with 22,000. Just a note on that, our North Shore Middle School band and choir did a fundraiser where they were selling Quick Trip gift cards for like car washes and stuff like that. So anytime we're gonna do that, we always use that account so that if worst case scenario, anything were to ever be compromised, they don't have an operating account that they're getting access to. So you'll see that amount go back down, and we had culminated all the funds or commingled all the funds into one account. Quick Trip has since pulled their money that they needed for the fundraiser. So sitting in a really good financial position. Beginning of December, I know it's not a December report, but beginning of December we did receive about $1 million for special education aid that was getting kind of trued up from last year's spending. So that definitely helps as well. If you saw in the news, there was a recent rate cut. We are still earning a solid interest rate, but it is been brought down to 4.02% as far as what we're earning on our savings. So still very solid. But I don't have a crystal ball, but I would expect at least 1 or 2 more rate cuts this year. Or I shouldn't say this year, next year. But we'll kind of wait and see, but we're still earning a really solid interest rate. Any questions on monthly financials? Okay, as far as our capital improvements, spoke with Greg, I speak with Greg pretty regularly. Greg has been Superman basically. We've had some turnover on our building and ground staff, so he's been operating with less than a full staff, we'll just say that. So November was really a lot about just maintaining buildings, doing some deep cleaning over break. But the big improvement, and sometimes you forget about this when you're talking capital, was Chris Dillon and his team. They did a quite extensive, and I'm gonna pull up his, because I will misspeak otherwise. They did a server refresh. Maybe I don't have it here. Well, they did a refresh of our servers here, and I'm not a technology guy, but I can tell you this based on what he sent me. These things, they control everything from our lighting to our HVAC system. Anything that's automated within the buildings, everything is tied together. And that was a pretty significant job. So I have to give him kudos. We budgeted for 50 grand, and Chris is always a really good financial steward. He was able to secure a bid that brought it in about $4,000 under bid, even with tariffs and everything else that he's having to deal with. So I really can't thank him enough for that. But they did that when we were without students that week. So he started just getting some stuff set up the week before, and then the week of is when he could shut everything down and get the new servers all set up and running. So huge shout out to him and his team.
Great.
Yes.
Thanks, Chris and team. Okay, next on to the board president report. I have a couple of things. First one is on Arrowhead and the discussion that took place at their last meeting, and then the other one is I just wanted to bring to your attention a couple of assembly bills that could relate to that a little bit, just so that you know it's out there. You can go to the Wisconsin website for those. So at the last Arrowhead meeting, the administration and the board talked through the potential of limiting open enrollment. So the open enrollment will get decided by Arrowhead in January. And what they're looking at is a potential reduction to the point of outside of the district could end up being turned off. They might turn off open enrollment. And the reason that I wanted to bring that here is that could have a significant impact on the feeder districts because of the amount of open enrollment. And it's something that I think we should at least talk about and be aware of, so that if that decision does get pushed down, what does that mean to us? Patrick, what does that mean to our finances? I mean, from the numbers that I saw, I mean, there's a decent number of open enrollment.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, and what we have to keep in mind is there's a difference between, in the feeders, open enrollment between districts. That doesn't matter. But we run the risk of, if we have open enrollment from outside of the Arrowhead district coming in, if those families find out that they're not allowed to go to Arrowhead, maybe they would pull out of the feeder districts. They might. Now, we have some of the best districts in all of the state, K through 8, so they may not, but it still runs a risk. Now, some of the other districts are in a much more difficult position than we are with the number of students. Do you happen to know off the top of your head what we have from out of district?
Yeah, actually.
If not, I think I have a number.
It's 6.6% or 71 students.
Okay, I had a 77 in my head, so we're close.
Out of Arrowhead District or out of Hartland-Lakeside District?
71. That's out of Arrowhead.
Yep.
Okay.
So that 71 would be affected if this were to.
But they're
Possibly.
always affected because they don't have to be accepted into Arrowhead. That doesn't mean they're guaranteed a spot at
Not
Arrowhead
guaranteed.
by going to our
Right.
school, so they're always running the risk.
Correct.
But historically.
Correct,
Yeah,
I mean,
Historically,
yes.
they've kind of gone.
Yeah.
And there were two things that got discussed at Arrowhead on this.
One was an update to policy language regarding open enrollment. And then the second one was more of a loose conversation about this potential change for the future. And the board will look at that maybe in January and have more serious discussions on that. So the first thing that changed was the policy, and the existing policy that they updated all but assured that 8th graders that would apply in the open enrollment program from feeders would get preferential treatment. So they would have a better position to get in. So if they open up X amount of seats, ones that are already in the district that are 8th grade, they would have preference.
The non-resident.
Correct,
The
but if they're
feeder
already
district.
in the feeders, yes. So that was something that got pushed through, and the policy got updated. So that means if you're an 8th grader at Swallow or an 8th grader at Hartland-Lakeside, you would have preference in the pool of the number of open enrollment in. And that's if you're an outside the district student. Okay, then the second thing that, like I said, that was brought up loosely was that discussion. And part of that was about right sizing Arrowhead and the potential to try and get all students underneath one roof. That's where part of the number is. And then when you look at it initially, you think, well, it's not much. It's only, say, 50, 70 kids that might be coming, but times 4 grades. So now you do that, it could be upwards of 220 to 300 kids that might be affected.
Is there 71 across all
Out of state.
grades?
Yes,
Yes.
it's crossed our district.
Our whole thing.
Yep.
Right. So if you combine all of the feeders together, the number of 8th graders that could be affected might be, I'm gonna make up a number because I don't remember it offhand, but let's say 55 or 60. So when you hear that, you think, oh, that's probably not a big deal. How's that gonna move the needle or help much? Well, now multiply it by 4
Yeah, every
grades,
year.
and if
Yes,
it ebbs and flows,
It's like an hourglass.
right, if you have 60 or 70, that's 280 students, well, that changes things for what potential referendum and right sizing of one building might look like in the future. So, again, no decisions have been made. It was just something that's been talked about. Arrowhead's financial situation isn't super. They have a lot of maintenance and they're losing somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million a year on duplication of services between the two buildings with staff and inefficiencies. So at some point, they have to do something. So that is something that's under consideration. I wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to be aware and then to talk about it in case there's anything we wanted to proactively either do or at least talk through if it became a reality someday.
So pretty much the most aggressive thing we could do if this is a big piece would be write a letter as a board and send it up and just say, hey, we really want you to think about how this affects all areas. As a board, if that was something to do, otherwise it's out there.
And it's outside of our direct control. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it.
Sorry, I have a governance question for clarity.
Sure.
So we're talking about open enrollment and obviously having board members that are serving on both boards
Or the
and
one board
having,
member?
I'm just saying that having board members serve on both boards. I just wanna, talk about the clarification on how disclosure or recusal is handled when decisions from either district negatively affect the other district and what our policy would be.
Well, I don't believe the policy says anything about serving on 2 different boards.
It's not what I asked.
Okay, then can you restate the question so I make sure I answer it
Yep.
correctly for you?
I'd appreciate clarification on how disclosure or recusal is handled when decisions may negatively affect either district.
Well, the disclosure of the meetings are public, so I'm not sure what you're looking for.
Thank you. I'm just to be clear, I
Well,
just
no,
wanna
let me-
know, is there a
no.
standard disclosure or recusal practice we follow?
I think what she's asking, and look,
I'm just
I
asking what our
think
policy is.
you personally need to be careful in those discussions. I totally understand why Arrowhead would wanna do this. Like, the community has voted twice that they're not willing to support these 2 schools.
Correct.
Arrowhead is in a very difficult situation. So that board, as representatives of Arrowhead, is trying to do what's best for them. And you're on that board. if this goes in place, if we lost all 71 of these students, that would be an $830,000 hit to our budget. Right?
Not quite,
It's about 11,000 a kid,
10,102.
so about 700,000.
Yeah, but you're,
Okay,
It's still a lot.
so it's
materially, yes, it's a
Right,
significant,
so-
$750,000.
it's
Right,
a
so-
significant hit.
So if you're sitting in that room with that hat, you know, your best option for Arrowhead School may indeed be, yes, we should limit enrollment when the vote comes up in January,
Good.
right? That is not the best, at least in my opinion, that is not the best option for Hartland-Lakeside, right? And so sitting in this room advocating that, hey, we need to get aggressive and take it in there, you know, you just need to you're in a difficult situation. You are, I mean, it's like if you were on two corporate boards and one was gonna try and take over the other and they didn't wanna do it, you know, you would have to say, I'm out of this discussion. And so, you know, I'm not trying to say you're doing anything wrong or you're doing it, you know, you were elected to two boards.
Correct.
I just think you need to be careful in those discussions because it is, you know, it is definitely puts us in a difficult situation. You know, 2 years ago, we had 40 less students from the in and out thing. And at $11,000 a head, you know, it's $400,000 and change, right?
Yeah.
A mandate on Tina was, hey, we wanna get people in here, and she's been doing all she can to do that. Now, I don't know if she's promoting it, and a student comes in from Oconomowoc, it's like, hey, it's great, well, what are we doing to get to 8th grade? Well, you gotta go find somewhere else, right? And so it puts her and our administration, who have been trying to push this, in a difficult situation. So, my only comment is you know, you need to be careful in those discussions. I don't know how I mean, I think what she's asking is how are you dealing with those?
Yeah, the difficult part is there's nothing that's been presented yet. There's nothing more than a potential, a discussion. And what I personally asked for at the last meeting was I need to see data first. I haven't seen anything that justifies doing that from a financial standpoint, other than, well, it might help a smaller referendum go through. If that's what they're making the decision on, that, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Because what happens if a potential referendum doesn't go through and they reduce their student count by 200, they're gonna be in bigger trouble. So for one, nothing formal has been presented and no data has been presented, so that makes it difficult. The other thing to keep in mind too is I don't represent just Hartland-Lakeside on that board. I have the Hartland-Lakeside seat, but I'm elected by the entire Arrowhead community. So it's difficult, and I can't say what I would say or do until I'm presented with information. So at that point, I'd have to decide whether or not I would recuse myself from the vote or not. I don't know. I'd have to see what's in front of us and what the options are and how they affect here. But again, when I'm in that capacity and on that board, I'm an elected official of the Arrowhead board, not Hartland-Lakeside board.
So I think so I appreciate you helping me clarify those, Matt, and I do appreciate what you said at the meeting at Arrowhead. I did watch the meeting, and I appreciate your comments about the, you know, hey, let's slow down, let's get the statistics, let's get all that. That was great. I guess I get that there are all these issues, but I'm more concerned about what our policy states, how we as a board are following it, and how we can be consistent in applying that policy. Not an individual, I agree, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. I'm simply asking how we're handling it. And would it be helpful for the board to clarify the expectations so it's applied consistently going forward?
Well, I think the board would have to do something with particular policy language if there's something that's.
I mean, I
not
guess
with
question
policy.
one, I mean, I don't think there is a policy, right?
Well, there are policies that state conflict of interest of things that have direct influence over others. So if there's a direct financial
Which wouldn't
oversight,
be?
then there could be, and then there's an expectation for it not to be there, but I guess it depends on each situation on whether it has a direct impact. Because again, what we don't know, for one, we don't know what the policy is, we don't know what the transition would be, whether it would be, say, 2 years, 3 years of, okay, if you're in 6th grade on, still come on in. Or it's no, cut off next year. I don't know. There hasn't been anything hardcore talked about yet. The other thing we don't know, and Patrick talked about, we don't know if that means all of a sudden all those people are gonna leave or not.
No, that's right.
They could.
I don't disagree with that.
But we have,
It's-
again, the feeder districts in Lake Country, they're some of the best in the entire state. So they may still choose to come.
No, I don't disagree, I just,
I don't know,
I
I've had a hard time.
personally, if I had entered another school district and I had like a 2nd grade kid, and it's like, this kid's not gonna be able to go to the high school, and I thought, I would probably start looking for different stuff.
As I would too, with
Yeah,
my
it's
kids,
a
because they're gonna be with their friends the whole time.
Yeah, right,
And
right,
they go to high
and
school.
pull the rug out from them in 9th grade, right, so.
So,
Look, I mean, we can discuss if there needs to be a formal policy or not, my counsel is, be careful, right? It's like you need to
yeah, and
understand where you're
the
at.
easiest thing when it comes to a vote later, if this helps answer your question, the easiest thing could be to just recuse myself from the vote. So it's not like I have to step off the board, it would be.
No, and I'm not saying that, I'm just
I would just
asking.
potentially, yeah, again, if it's something where I felt like it could have something here, and in the capacity that I'm in here, then I might just say, well, I'm abstain.
And that's why I'm asking about consistent application. Like how, as a board, are we going to hold ourselves accountable and consistently apply that? Not just, oh, well, I think this might, but I can talk myself out of it, so I'm just gonna vote for it. Not saying you personally, I'm just saying, you're saying it's up to the individual, so if I'm sitting in a meeting saying, I don't think it applies, so I'm just gonna go. As a constituent of yours for Arrowhead and here, I would like to know how anyone can keep both districts a fiduciary agent of that when one directly could negatively impact the other.
Well, the same.
And
could be
how
said-
we as a board have a policy that can be applied
The same could be said here with transportation.
also, but we haven't gotten to that conversation, but that
Right,
was
but
going to be brought up
that's-
as well.
That's another part of it with the transportation. If we choose to do something on our own, that could affect other districts.
Correct, so how will you, I don't wanna put it on you, how does a board member on our board handle the disclosure and recusal?
Well, again, from a disclosure, everything is public. So I'm not sure what you mean by disclosure. The recusal, it's, in this case for me, I was elected by the community for 2 different boards. So I serve in the best of my capacity for each when I'm in those locations.
Okay, so that's an interpretation based on what you're reading. Have we gotten any written legal guidance, or is this based on any past practice? Like, I wanna cover everyone.
We have a policy for it.
Awesome, could we add that to a future agenda item then and walk through that policy so that we all are aware of it and can apply it consistently?
Well, you can read it today if you want to, just click on it.
Can we add it as a future agenda item?
What do you wanna do with that, like, what do you want on that?
Well, I would like to know how we are verifying that there are recusals for votes, that if there is a conflict of interest or anything, we know that, hey, these are the steps, these are what needs to happen, these are the milestones or whatever that have to be hit for you to recuse yourself. So that they're applied consistently, not just, today I feel like I'm gonna recuse myself, tomorrow I'm not going to.
I mean, what is the, I guess
It's also that too.
It's 11:30.
11:30?
Ethics and conflict of interest would be the policy that would be at hand.
is it long, is it something we can just read here, like, is it?
It's actually probably one of the
It's-
shorter ones, but
It's longer and it's not really cut and dry.
That, I mean,
I think
that
that's
was,
the
that was
whole-
my,
that's-
that was my recollection.
That's the
from
part,
meeting.
that's the hard part with most of these, like, the conflict of interest pops up a lot, and it's, if something happened, and let's just say you voted on something that your family member was a part of, you may skew a vote, but that could, down the line, become a conflict, an issue. But you put yourself, you get to choose what positions you put yourself into, and making the smart decision whether you pull out of those decisions that are there or not there based off of the knowledge in front of you. I don't think there's a cut and dry for each individual thing that were to pop up. I think that's the hard part about that policy is you're gonna have nuances here or there, so if there's a vote on something that doesn't necessarily directly affect, you might vote on it. If it doesn't, then you might recuse yourself saying that if I did this, I wouldn't be able to at that point in time. So it's very hard to say in this exact position,
Yeah.
I would be that, but you're hoping, well, the guidance is that you're gonna make that decision so that down the road, you're not putting yourself in a position that you made a conflict of interest.
And as most policies are written, it says right in there, these are guidelines, but not all inclusive. You know, so it's setting an overarching standard with some examples, but like many policies are, because otherwise you would have 7 million policies.
Correct.
It's a general standard of conduct that is open to some interpretation.
That was my recollection from the training. It was kind of like, it's like the old senator thing when they were trying to ban porn and something. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it.
Exactly.
It's kind of like that, right? I mean,
That's the
it's
exact
kind
line.
of use your
That's the
judgment,
exact line from the testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know when you see it.
right? So, I mean, unless we wanna go, I mean, from my opinion, I mean, we have to, I mean, we don't have to talk in vague, it's Chris is on both boards, it doesn't, at least this stuff doesn't
Well,
affect any of
I
us, I
think
mean, I just.
there's multiple boards, right? There's multiple people on multiple boards, and at that point, you're gonna get put in different positions that
Wait, what do
are.
you mean by that, like multiple people?
We have an HLEF representative here as well, and there's spots where you might have to recuse yourself if it
Yep.
comes to those pieces. These are the guidelines for that, and not
Well, yeah.
every situation is gonna be the same, but as soon as it, like on here, it talks about financial and things like that, where it starts to get to those pieces, these are the guidelines that are there, so I guess, my recommendation is I just encourage that we reread these as we go down a tight rope here for a little bit, and make sure that we have those guidelines there, and if everything comes up, there might be something to reach out and ask and figure out what it is, but these are our guidelines from a board standpoint from Hartland-Lakeside. And which is used across the board usually.
I mean, I feel we'd struggle to like lay out, choose your own adventure decision tree.
And you,
as
it's,
to how
at
to
that
do
point, we're
this,
saying
right?
you need to respond in this way, where he is his own piece of the board as well,
Well, that's
right?
where,
That's the other part where we have to
that's where
say,
my
hang
counsel
on.
was, is be careful and
Yeah.
use your judgment.
Yeah.
Right, I don't know, I don't know what else we
At what
can.
point does his two
sketch out.
votes outweigh? Cause he'd
Well,
have a
that's-
vote on this side and that side.
That's the line that
Do you know what I mean?
I think that's the line that he has to walk, and at that point, decide whether or not he has to recuse himself or not, otherwise he puts himself at risk of what it could be. So if there's something that directly violates that, and then you would say, okay, well, we've crossed the line. But the guidelines here should be, it's laid out here, and I'm sure Arrowhead has their own, it's basically the same of what we have here.
I think so.
And it's just
I mean, they
I don't
use
care what Arrowhead has, I'm more, I'm.
He's going by two different codes of
Our
conduct, so even on that side of it, he's gotta make sure that he represents Arrowhead in a way, and we doesn't vote on the Hartland side that says, hey, we're not gonna do something to Arrowhead, he would then probably have to recuse or figure out whether or not it really directly affects that piece of it.
Right, and as far as I know, that the consequences of those would then be determined by the board that there could be a conflict with. So that board then would determine the next steps if they felt like those lines were crossed. That's historically, I believe, what it is. I don't
So
know,
then-
Tina, if you've seen anything in your past with other boards.
How does
But as
that?
far as the governance part of it, I believe.
So I'm sorry, but this has to be opened, especially with these dogs.
Yeah,
With the open enrollment and busing, these are
my
it's getting pretty serious.
experience is 100% what Hagelin just got done kind of outlaying, and same thing with Schwab. If a person wants to recuse themselves, oftentimes when you recuse yourself, it's because your spouse is involved in some way, shape, or form. That you see more often than not. I'm a board member and my spouse works in the cafeteria, and there's a decision about pay taking place. I am gonna recuse myself because that directly impacts my family, or health benefits, that directly impacts my family. I haven't been in any situations that I can think of, and I'm looking and trying to figure that out, where it's a situation like this.
That's because we got such a wonky.
Right, I get that, and I mean.
Stuff, right, it's such a different thing.
Right, and I'm not trying to say that you are, like, I feel as though it may be taken as I'm attacking you, and I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to attack you. I'm trying to make sure that the best interest of Hartland-Lakeside School District is which I know you do, and I can only imagine how difficult it is to be on both sides with these serious topics coming up, with how much one may be in a way better financial position than the other. I want to avoid getting in any sticky situations on our side of when we would then have to say, hey, Mr. President, I think you need to recuse yourself. How do I then bring it up that the president of our board needs to recuse itself?
There's policies for that.
Where? Can you?
If you think you cross the line.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just
to
saying, like, how
bring those out.
would that happen when you're saying that we would then say, hey, you need to recuse yourself?
Well, we could ask a recuse, that's the other thing, it's like, so that's the hard part, is we would ask, to say, hey, we would hope that you recuse yourself when it comes to a financial piece of these things that are there.
And maybe that's something we need to, I don't know, and maybe I'm just like a rule follower that I want, like.
I think it needs, I think in my mind, it's kind of a case by case basis. Like, I didn't even think about the transportation thing when you mentioned it, but you're right, it could come up there too.
It could.
And if we come to where it's like, we're voting on something, that to the other four of us, that would be the point for us to raise our hand if we had concern that he was in both things. There's nothing we can do about what he does in that room in Arrowhead, right?
I'm not.
So it's like, in that room, that's where, use your best judgment, right?
And that's where I was saying, Morgan, I think the governing board is the one then that would be the determinant if the line was crossed.
Who's the governing board? Us.
Yeah.
So again, we would then call up the president. Like, do you see where I'm coming from?
Well, if it's
Right,
against the president, you would talk to the vice president at that point in time, if the president is the one who's in question. And if
I
you're
mean-
talking about something at Hartland that has to do with Arrowhead, you can ask that, hey, this might be something you may wanna recluse yourself from, but that's also up to that board member to figure out whether or not that causes that issue. So you would be able to ask at that time frame whether it's involving busing, and
Well, then
then you could step back and say, I would like to
I
just
would say
recommend
that
something.
anything with open enrollment and busing, you shouldn't be a part of, because that can negatively impact our financial stance.
What does that mean? What are your suggestions?
If Arrowhead then if
No,
you
no,
are
no,
part
no.
of an Arrowhead decision to cut off open enrollment, you just said we could potentially lose $700,000. That's a pretty big negative impact. How can you be involved in that decision?
Well, I guess, are you asking that he not vote on that stuff, not participate in the conversation?
That's what
not
I'm
listen?
asking is what are those recusal steps?
That's
Well, it's up to
board
him.
member
What
on that
do
point
you
in time.
want them to be, like, what are you asking to happen is my question, is like,
It's
I
coming
think
up
the
with-
process is he's gotta use his judgment.
How we consistently apply it, like, you brought up HLEF, perfect, okay, so what situation?
It's
There's a
just-
situation that, okay, you're gonna kick HLEF off the campus, not that we are, but, so I would automatically recuse myself, because if it has anything to do with that, I'm going to step up, because I'm involved with both sides. But is that the proper way to do it?
If
Can I
it's-
be involved in the conversation, or do I have to leave?
It's not black and white though.
Yeah, that's the
Like,
thing.
if you look at ethics or conflict of interest, and I'm not trying to muddy the waters here.
I know,
But
I'm
it's-
sorry,
it's-
maybe that's just cause I like black
It's
and
shades of
white.
gray. There's so many nuances and there's so many variables that you can never say like, in this situation, you absolutely should. I mean, there are maybe some absolutely shoulds, but like, there's a lot in the middle that it's like, well, maybe depending if this, if that, so the policy is the policy, but it's open for how do we interpret, or how do you guys interpret it?
I would also say that there's no, like, it's a figurative stepping out, right? You would still, the conversation would happen like it normally does before a vote is made. And anybody could say whatever they want, and if you felt like that was something that Chris should recuse himself, you have the right to say that, right? You have the right to say that. What he decides to do with what you have to say is his deal, not, right? You can speak your piece and be done with it, and then he makes a decision. Same thing for you with HLEF. The only time when it goes beyond figuratively stepping out of the room, you would be here for the whole thing. Everybody would be here for part of it. And would be if you're in closed session, right? If you're in a closed session decision.
Oh, it's on YouTube.
Right. So,
Yeah, I guess,
so
yeah,
a
that makes sense.
a closed session, if it was a conversation, then you would be asked to leave because that would be confidential information that should never leak outside of those walls. So that's kind of how that would work. But yeah, I think the policy is the policy. What Patrick said, I think what Matt is saying is correct. I know that sometimes it feels like there should be a cut and dried response and answer to it, but at the end of the day, as a board member, you have the authority to say what you want to say, and anybody has the authority to vote the way they want to vote.
And then again, the steps afterwards, Morgan, would be the governing board. If the board expressed a collective interest that the representative, me in this case, did something inappropriate, then the board can take steps as defined through policy with the VP as the driver.
And then I think it's also whether or not we'd like the vote, it's whether or not it crossed the line of affecting the district negatively or even positively in some ways, whatever it happens to be, if there's something that falls in that category.
Correct. And again, we have to remember too, that it's an elected position by the community where they chose that person, in this case me, to serve on that board. So when I'm there, I act for the entire community and serve on that board. And when I'm here, I act for this community and I make decisions based on this community, this board. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to update you on.
Just one more thing there. So they're deciding something in January there?
I don't know for sure. I don't make the agenda, but they were gonna bring it back. What I heard
Do they,
today is they're gonna bring it back.
do they have, is that when you have?
Yeah,
you-
I was
they
just
have to
gonna-
make the
I
decision?
didn't know
They're
if
gonna
I
decide
should-
on
they have
open
to.
enrollment for
Yeah.
the next year. I don't know if they're going to decide at that point on the larger discussion that we just brought up. That's
So
what
they
I-
would
But it's
have,
but they're gonna have to figure out if they're gonna offer seats or not.
they would
Yeah,
have to
just as
decide
you- it's just
about
as-
those eighth graders.
Yes,
Yeah.
Just as we will next
Yeah.
board meeting.
So that's something for us, I was gonna bring up too, so I'm glad you said something. That is something that we will discuss, and Lisa Schromek will be here to talk about what our situation was. Now, remember, this last year, we limited seats. And so I wanna make sure that we are cognizant of what that does, and we're gonna have a little bit deeper conversation about that. Because of, having to try to be ready for what next steps look like for Hartland.
And it has a trickle effect too with other districts. Some other districts will be in some really difficult spots. If that were to go through and those kids were to pull out, that would put some other districts in a very difficult financial position, very, very difficult.
I didn't watch, was there a lot of public comments on that for this thing?
They don't let public comments happen at the meeting.
They don't do public comment?
They do, it's just like ours in a normal time slot.
Yeah,
Before they have the conversation about the policy.
so any people would be commenting next month on that. I'm just curious
Yeah.
what the,
Which again is the reason why I wanted to have this discussion here, so at least the board is aware. So again, the community is overly aware, and especially for our district, so that at least we have visibility that it's being talked about. Again, no plan has been made, no data has been shared, it's just a concept at this point.
yeah, I'm a little torn in the whole situation, right? I mean, it's like, not involved in your participation, just on the whole thing, like, I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people, everybody kind of says, well, I don't wanna mix, Heartland's in such a great situation, I don't wanna mix with Arrowhead. Well, we're Arrowhead too, like, my taxes go to Arrowhead, just, we're not avoiding Arrowhead's problems by keeping Heartland separate, I mean, they're still short, and it's my problem too, if I get 2 of my 3 kids are there right now. Right, so I totally understand why they wanna do it, but it can hose us, I mean, I feel like on some regards, this is and maybe it isn't, but this is a show for Arrowhead to show the community, like, okay, you don't wanna pass any of these referendums, here's our next best option, right?
Well, it could be. And my big thing is at the last meeting, I wanted more information than just let's talk about this and maybe do something.
But where I'm saying I'm torn, I mean, in some ways, like, this discussion, we should give Chris what our opinion is in terms of the district, cause I think he's gonna have his next meeting before we have ours.
Districts.
Yeah, but my point is, like, I don't know what the best answer, like,
But he's
wearing my
not,
Heartland hat, this is a bad idea.
That's the hard part
It's
would be the board would have to make a decision and we
He's
could,
not the
we could do a
representative.
letter or something on that piece of it, or
Correct.
write an email to them. But I think sending it through Chris would then be a conflict of interest at that point.
Thank
No,
you.
no, 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 no.
Because the board is
Exactly.
taking our representation and
Yes.
here's what my board is saying, I mean, he can come
But
this is where it affects us.
No, my point is more this, right? Chris is gonna get data, and he said that's gonna be part of his decision on how to figure out, should he vote for something or should he stay out of it, right? If we all said, Chris, I think what Arrowhead's doing is like the greatest thing, I think definitely do it. Yeah, like, we were totally on board for them cutting their no open enrollments outside it, it's a great idea, it's gonna be great for Heartland, you know? And that's the way the wind's blowing, and he looks at the data in that room and said it's great for him, then no refusal, right? Vote, that's what my people want, that's what these people want. I'm saying, me personally, I don't know what I want because I sit in both, we all sit in both rooms too. I think everybody gets so caught up on like, well, Heartland's so wonderful and we don't want any Arrowhead's problems, but we have them, we live in Arrowhead too. So I don't, you know, I'm asking us as a board, what do we think about this? Like, and I'm torn.
I think, I agree with
It's
that, I think,
$700,000 would be awful for us, and 70.
We'd be
But-
cutting programming.
But
We'd be
how
cutting
many-
programming, and 70 kids is not, unless all 70 kids are in one grade, it's not like you're cutting out
Exactly.
teachers, you're getting
Yes,
smaller.
but, so my thing is, how many of those 71 actually go to Arrowhead? Like, we have some people that would open enroll and then go back to
We'll
their,
never know the answer to that, you're
Well,
right, but the
I mean-
point is, like, if we were to give Chris guidance on what this, I think Chris should have some guidance on what this board thinks, but I don't know that.
but he shouldn't be using that with his decision, because when he's in that room, he's Arrowhead.
But I think he needs to, because
That's what
it's
I'm
like
saying
if-
though, is that how can he
So
do
if we
both?
take Chris out of this scenario right here,
How
you're
can
saying
anyone?
you're kind of up in the air on what this looks like and there's some things that I mean, it's obviously getting thrown to you now and we're talking about it. And so from my standpoint, I'm saying, right, I see where they're a draw for an athletic program, so cutting that off, I think for them is a huge loss that they have to look into. But as a district here, I'm excited about the things we've done to create K through 8 as its own portrait of a graduate, right? It's got a whole program from end to end that you come out with something out of it, so if you go somewhere else, obviously you wanna go to Arrowhead and be a part of that whole system, but if you end up going somewhere else, you've got something from here to take with you versus just that K through 8, you're now part of the culture here and what's been growing, so I'm excited to see that. So I think there's some still to sell, but I think there's a lot to weigh out what that looks like on the other end.
Matt, are you wanting Chris to be more informed so that he can decide whether he should recuse himself or not, or how he should vote? I think those are two fundamentally different things.
It's a good question.
Because obviously he shouldn't be influenced by anybody on how he votes, but
But he should be listening to
But he
his
should, well,
constituents.
yeah, but if he so chooses to recuse himself, that may be what the discussion here would impact.
Give me your two options, what were you, ask your
Well-
question again, I just wanna make sure I understand.
Are you raising that you want to discuss this and make sure that the message or the stance of the board, should he be using that in how he votes or if he votes?
I don't know the answer, I mean, that's part of the,
Because
I think that's a good question, right?
Because
And
the
that's
prior should really not come into play.
Right.
But the latter is really where I would think that you would want him to have the stance of the board to say, hey, well, the rest of my board feels this way, pretty overwhelming, and they feel like it could be a negative or positive, and as based on that, maybe that is what pushes him to either vote or not vote.
Yeah, it's like, if this board all had a strong opinion one way or the other, and that would suggest to me a situation where you might feel like you have to recuse yourself, because we strongly feel one way or another, right? I don't, and it's hard, because you don't know what this data is gonna look like, you don't know what they're gonna do. To Morgan's point, we don't know that we're gonna lose 71 kids and $700,000. I know from just a straight economic standpoint, that's terrible. But, I don't know. So I don't know if this board has a strong opinion one way or the other. I think that's what you're at. If we had that,
Yeah.
that would be, I'd feel like a situation where you had to recuse, right?
And again, like Tina talked about earlier about stepping away, it's usually when there's a direct violation or a direct effect for you personally, again, more so like a family member. If we have a strong opinion here, what we do is we act as a board and we determine to take an action as a board, and then would send either a message or a communication or something to Arrowhead supporting or not supporting that decision. That's what we do. We don't take a vote to tell Chris how to vote, because I'm
No,
not a
that's right.
representative of this board on that board. So I would understand our position, and I might fully support it in this room and say, yes, let's send a letter that says yea or nay. That's what our job is. And when it comes to the voting there, I'm not the president of Hartland-Lakeside when I'm there. I am the Hartland-Lakeside seat on the Arrowhead board.
So you're basically saying you would never recuse yourself because you are one person over there and
Sure, that didn't come out
one
of my
person
mouth,
over here.
but
But you just said the recusal is a direct personal effect of a family.
often.
Yep. But you have yet to say if you think there's a conflict. If Arrowhead was to say, yep, we're gonna cut open enrollment, you know that will negatively impact our district, which you are you keep saying you're an elected official of both districts. How can you be a fiduciary agent to both districts when they very much butt heads financially? What's good for this one is not good for this one. How can you be a fiduciary agent for both at the same time? Or even minute by minute?
You have to see in each situation.
No, I want a specific answer to that, Chris. How can you be a fiduciary agent? Do you know what that means?
To an extent.
You have the best financial interest of both districts. Arrowhead wants to cut open enrollment. That will negatively impact multiple districts, but we're talking about our district. You then, by voting yes for that, negatively impact this and automatically are not a good fiduciary agent for Hartland.
If I was a
So that-
representative of the Hartland-Lakeside board.
No, but you're on both
boards.
boards, Chris.
I understand that, and I can thank the people, thank you very much.
You had no one run against you, come on, let's be honest.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
Jesus.
Can we do, regarding this, obviously we talked about conflict of interest and making sure that we do a refresher on those conflict of interest, but maybe a 1 minute topic.
Can we just add it to a future agenda item like I asked previously, and then I'll stop talking, because clearly I'm not gonna get anything done. It's fine, I appreciate it, let's just add it to the agenda.
I'm just asking that the board give maybe 1 minute on what they feel on the situation, so that we could have a board topic on this piece that says how we are feeling. I know Matt says your opinion, just maybe a summarization from each board member and decide whether or not we want to do something with it.
Jordan,
Ridiculous.
I'm good with
let's start.
Look, I don't have any guidance here. As I said, I'm 100% torn on this thing as a person. I think Arrowhead's a total mess, and the referendum's failing have totally hamstrung that board, and they have to do something. I'm hoping they're doing this to scare folks into passing a referendum and showing that they're do this and all this stuff's gonna happen, or get people to think more seriously about consolidation and shutting down some of these buildings to save money across the district. From just a straight Heartland just from a Hartland-Lakeside representation, no doubt this would be bad for this K district in my mind. So I don't have, that's my thought on the process.
And then Tina, just quick, I know that the superintendents had met and talked about that. Conrad mentioned it in the meeting. What was the general takeaway from the feeders?
Upset.
Yeah.
Complete upset. You know, I mean, we're all our own districts, and I've said it before, you've heard me say it, until we are not, I will represent Hartland-Lakeside as their superintendent and their CEO, and we will move this district forward as a K-8 as it is meant to be. I think all of our feeder schools feel the same way. I almost interjected earlier, but I'm working hard on letting the board be the board and me do my work. But since you asked, this impacts some of our feeders, obviously in a dire straits way. And maybe that is part of the model, I don't know. I'm not here to surmise what their purpose and mission is. I know what our purpose and mission is, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm really excited about it in the future of this district. To think that we would lose $700,000 potentially is scary to me, because all that we have built and all that we have put in place would be lost, because we would have to cut those extra things. We absolutely would, and to your point, they're not coming from just one grade level, right? It's across the board, so we lose a kid or two in each grade level, or however that would work. We still need to have a teacher fill that spot, and we're not gonna be able to cut those staff. So, I have a lot of questions about, frankly, how we move forward and what this all ends up looking like. Just wanna focus on what I'm doing for Hartland-Lakeside.
Thank you. Yeah, and I would ask that if you have conversations with the other districts as well, and they have more specific information too, please share it with me, because that will help me when I'm in that situation determine whether or not to step out or have a vote one way or another. So the more information I can have, the better, which is why I asked for that at the last meeting.
Are you speaking as a board member for Heartland or for Arrowhead when you just said that? Because that was very confusing to me.
I'm pretty sure we're in the Hartland-Lakeside meeting.
Right, but why would you then need more information when you need to make a decision over there? Wouldn't you share it with the whole board?
You had just asked about recusal and stepping out, so the more information I have.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's what I have.
I mean, I'm not gonna get emotional on theoreticals, right? So I would like to see all the due diligence, I would like to see the data. As it stands as a whole right now, if Arrowhead were to proceed with the vote like that, yeah, and purple is probably too strong, but it impacts this district tremendously. So I would take issue to any type of votings, but I would have essentially the same counsel as Matt, be careful at this point. But it's sort of hard for any of us to speak on what we don't know right now.
Morgan, any last thoughts?
Oh, I've got a lot of them, but I won't share them right now, so. I don't think you should be voting in it. I think it's a recusal fact, but I know you won't listen to that, so go ahead. Oh, you're the only one that can say stuff like that? Sorry.
And this one, I sit with Matt, right, on both ends of it, it's kind of if it does, it could affect this, there's a big swing of if, what, when, there might be even a trickle down effect of, because that happens, a school doesn't make it, and now you've got to take on those, now I think there's a whole big piece of this that could go bad to good, bad, all the way around with it, so I think just more information on what that is and understanding, if they are gonna vote, I guess I'll keep my ear to the ground as well, and maybe just continue to do some more research and look at how many kids we have here, what they look like, where they're going, because I do know, was it 2 years ago when we did the 8th grade graduation, we had where they were going, and there was quite a few that were going outside the district, which was interesting to me. So there was some were going to Oconomowoc, some were going to Pewaukee, a lot going to Arrowhead, but it was an interesting time just to see that there wasn't everybody that was going to Arrowhead, right? That wasn't the big thing that took away out of it. I was like, wow, there's a lot that go other places. So it might be something just to look at with other districts as well, from our standpoint. So more information is where I sit too. I think you just need a little more to see what that looks like, because I think there's more than the initial and then the trickle down effect.
And at the end of the day, we can't do anything.
Right.
Like, I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. Like, I can write a letter, I can go speak in front of it. I've done that for other things, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like, you know, it's just, it's.
Okay, so let's move on with that. Now, the second thing that I just wanted to update is on, there are two bills. I had mentioned that there were some things that were coming up in the assembly that might affect consolidation conversations, and that was one of the reasons why at the district-wide meeting that they had held off on inviting representatives in. Because they wanted to wait until some of these things could go through the assembly and the senate to see if they would be in place before the representatives came out. And the two that are out there right now that just got thrown through, the first one is Bill 646. It's an act, it says relating to requiring a school district consolidation study. So I printed this off because I wanted to be able to give you guys the heads up on it. The board, just to be aware that the proposal that was introduced at the state legislature called Assembly Bill 646, it would require that the DPI hire an outside group to conduct a statewide study on school district boundaries, facilities, enrollment trends, staffing levels, and potential consolidations. The study would look at every district in Wisconsin and would include recommendations about future district boundaries, facility conditions, tenure enrollment projections, and any consolidations that could be considered efficient or feasible. So that bill is just saying that they're trying to approve money to spend on a study to make recommendations and to look at
Statewide
those.
study?
Yep.
That one.
Yep. It went through a third read and passed in the assembly, and it went through a first time read and then was referred to the Committee on Education. So that's moving forward for their next meeting. The second one is Assembly Bill 649. This one, and again, you can look all these up on the docs.legis.wisconsin.gov. You can go in there and you guys can read all these and actually read the bill text. But this one, it was introduced alongside the broader statewide consolidation study bill. AB 649 focuses on the funding mechanisms that support districts that enter into whole grade sharing agreements or choose to consolidate. It increases the amount available at the state level for grants and reimbursements. This includes funding for feasibility studies, funding for districts that share grade levels across schools, and this is probably the key at the end here, additional state aid for districts that consolidate that would otherwise face a higher levy rate. So these things are going through. Keep in mind, these are not a directive. It does not require any districts to merge. It's just expanding the pool of state money that might be available if they voluntarily explore shared services or consolidation. And then my summary for this is it is not a consolidation vote. It does not require any district to merge. These bills simply begin a statewide data gathering and create optional funding for districts that want to explore shared services. Our community can be confident that the Hartland-Lakeside School District is stable, it's growing, and financially strong. There is no required action for us at this time, and I would suggest we continue to watch these bills and keep our families and community informed should those go through and then conversations start to happen. Okay, that was it. Future board, committee, action, or discussion items. Yours I already have noted. Morgan, I know that was coming.
I'm not gonna say a thing.
You already did? I got it. Anyone else have anything to add for future agenda? Okay.
Well, I mean,
Can you confirm?
depending what your
Sorry,
vote
just-
is.
Well, for discussions for topics for
Was
future.
it a specific one or is it a topic? Was this a
I'll let
specific
Christine
policy?
talk.
Was it the policy or was it a topic? Just sort of like write down here what we have.
What I had from her was that she had requested that we look at the policy and look for specific steps and procedures. And have that discussion as a board.
Okay.
Did I paraphrase correctly or did you have?
Thank you, that was fantastic.
Okay, good. And then let me know when you're ready, Chris. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, no problem. All right, then on to future meetings. PPC, Friday, January 16th, 9:15, yes?
Yes.
Correct. Finance, Tuesday, January 13th, 8:30 a.m.
Correct.
Great. School board meeting, January 21st.
No,
Okay, let's talk about that.
Tina is at a
Wasn't there a concert?
I'm at a conference.
conference she's at.
I thought there was a concert or something. We moved something. Did we move
Yeah,
something?
we moved it because on the Monday was holiday.
No school.
MLK Day, and we went to Wednesday, and then she's at a conference for women's leadership, and we're
Nice.
hoping to move to the week after.
So that's the 28th
Let me check.
Well,
Yeah,
or 20,
We usually do Mondays.
26th.
26th is a non-student day. Doesn't matter to me. We do have some presentations that night of people that then would come later, and we can make that work. I have no problem with that. The other thing that comes into play here is that, we'll talk about this, cause I wanna, there's some specifics to it, but there is an ask for the board to be present at North Shore Middle School on either the 27th is probably our biggest request, 27th or the 28th, to perform interviews. So that, those are the two dates for that,
Interviews.
for our 8th grade capstones.
Oh.
Okay.
During the day.
Yes, in the morning.
How long?
We're looking at like a 9 o'clock to 11:30 timeframe for anybody that can make it for that.
On the 27th, Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Great.
27th works for everybody then?
For what day you're talking?
Are we talking about the interviews or the meeting?
Both.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys wanted to double up, you know what I mean? Like that might be hard to, if you're here in the morning and then have to come at night. I don't know how you feel about that, if it works out better for your schedules to just say, hey, this is a day I'm committing to this.
Monday or Tuesday is fine for me that week.
Yeah, let's do the 27th.
I could do the daytime, I can't do the night I work at Tuesday nights.
What about Monday night?
Monday night's fine. Monday or Wednesday night is fine.
Do you think people would prefer not coming in on a non-school day?
Yes, I do.
So the 28th would be
Yeah.
better?
If you can do the 28th. Matt, can you do the 28th?
Mhm.
Matt, Chris, Morgan.
Let's see.
Okay.
This is nighttime.
28th at 6:30?
Yes.
Just wanna make sure I'm writing it down.
Do you see any need to start that one earlier? If we're going to be reviewing contracts afterwards?
Oh, would you like to start at 6?
How does the board feel about that?
Love it.
So it doesn't
So
become
it
that
doesn't
late of a
go
night?
too late.
January 20th at 6.
28th.
So the next school board meeting
I
will
could
be
do earlier too.
Wednesday, January 28th.
5:30?
Calm down.
Yeah, I mean, 5:30 works
I can make it work.
as early as you guys wanna go, we
You
can
guys
go.
want.
Let's just
I'm just thinking for
dynamic.
if we
Yeah,
have
5 o'clock, I mean,
extended
it's,
Right at-
aftermath.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? 5:36? I'm open either.
5:30.
I can do
Yeah,
5:30.
for 5:30.
Morgan?
People can
Yeah.
get there.
5:30.
5:30?
Do I hear a 5? Oh, I missed.
Oh,
I go 5 too.
Calm down.
Started
Calm
early.
down, people work.
I'm running out of scribbles.
Alright.
At least you don't have this big block writing that I have.
I gotta get better at the computer charts.
Alright, so then the next school board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday night, January 28th, starting at
6.
5:30.
Oh shit.
30. 5:30.
Sorry.
Okay. Alright, that's it. At this point, we are moving into our executive session portion, and I'd be looking for a motion to enter into closed session with the purposes of discussing employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation, data of any public employee over which the government body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The purpose of the closed session will be to discuss administrative goals and measurables, employment contracts. Do I have a motion?
So,
Are we not talking about
Second.
That's.
Happy holidays, all these seconds.
Thank you, Patrick.
Have a great night.
Good
All
night.
those in
Merry
favor,
Christmas.
please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We are in closed session, the motion passed unanimously.
Who's second?
McNulty. All right, if you want to take just a couple minutes, just to make sure that we're
Sure.
done.